All right, welcome back. We're gonna watch this downsize video. Recently, I've started to notice that my house is pretty small. So and we often we don't get things a lot, but when we do get things, it takes up I would say a pretty good portion of the small house. Like the smaller the house is, the more things you get, the more room or percentage that it takes up in the house, and things began to look cluttered, and we've been thinking about downsizing, and not like our house is small enough, but like downsizing the things that we own, and not really living a more minimalistic lifestyle, but just having less things so life doesn't become so cluttered. If that makes sense, because I have kids and they have a lot of toys, and they don't even play with half their toys. So we're probably gonna go donate half that stuff. And I do have also a bunch of knickknacks that I've gotten from various places that don't really hold that much sentimental value, but I think it does. If that makes sense. Like you buy things and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember buying that, but it has no other value other than, oh, I remember buying that this one time when I went to this one place. So we've been thinking about downsizing, and this, your phones and all that other shit listens to you. So this popped up on my feed. So might as well give it a watch. Why less is more. Wilmington women.
I have a confession to make.
Okay, go ahead,
When
confess
I
that
owned
shit.
a 5,000 square foot home in the country,
That sounds massive.
I had 11 closets
Jesus
and 9
fuck.
rolling racks.
All right, yeah, she definitely needed to downsize. I got like a small ass closet, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't like having a lot of clothes. Like I don't see the reason to own that many clothes. I like wearing the same things over and over again. Like enough for like 2 weeks, and then of course, you have a washer and dryer, and of course, things um, get that used look and used feeling more often. But honestly, it starts to get comfortable once you wash it a few times, and that roughness goes away.
Filled with clothes.
Might look faded, but whatever,
Can anyone relate?
cares?
Filled with clothes.
Just no wish she wore half that shit.
And I had convinced myself that having
She
all
was
of this stuff
barefoot. I was like, hell yeah.
really made me happy. In fact, I was drowning in my big house. My life
Got a
was
little house and I'm
spiraling out of
drowning in it.
control.
I don't know
The
about
big
spiraling
house,
though.
the yard, the maintenance,
I have a
the
yard
upkeep,
guy.
the expense, the time. I saw no way out, and I was afraid. It took a trip to a third world country, 8,000 miles from here,
Where's she going?
for me to really rethink what mattered in my life. When my son, Kevin, who now lives in the Congo, lived in Senegal, he was serving in the Peace Corps at the time, I went to visit him. And
Fuck happened? Oh.
okay, I went to visit him in Senegal, and we took this trip. It was a grueling 24-hour trek via every imaginable mode of transportation.
Low key,
Back of a pickup truck.
this is one of the slower TED Talks that I've watched. Really not getting to her point here.
Cars with no working gauges. Buses with holes in the floor. And we finally arrived in his little village where we were so warmly greeted by the villagers. I was also humbled by the fact that they had swept the dirt path clean for us. Within a minute, the village elder scooped up a live, scrawny chicken and
Why is
presented
chicken
it
scrawny
to us.
for?
A gift I knew in my head and my heart was of extreme value.
Here's the blood.
That
Drink the blood
evening,
of the chicken.
his African mother prepared a beautiful dinner for 15 people.
That was weird, right?
Included that little chicken.
Why did I say
And
his
while
mother?
serving the dinner, she pushed the better part of the chicken toward my son and me.
I guess she's just descriptive,
In
right?
that moment, I realized these villagers have so few possessions, but they were filled with joy. I wanted that. Several weeks later, I got
Typical.
on the plane to return home. And I
I'm
realized how
playing.
profoundly impacted I was by what I had experienced. Over the next couple of years, I started asking myself these questions that really changed my life. Does my stuff make me happy? If I buy more stuff, will I be happier? What really gives me joy?
This does
Why
not
wouldn't I
spark
want more
joy.
of that? And did my life...
Don't we often at some point Americans have to wonder why like those house makeover shows are popular and those like extreme hoarder shows are popular. Like that's the type of shit that we're like, oh yeah, that's not me. But those might be extremes that they're showing, but more than likely that's you. You know what I'm saying? Like you might not be as extreme as the person you're watching on TV, but if you like take a good look around your house, you're probably hoarding some shit that you do not need. Like there's probably a cabinet or somewhere deep in your closet that there's a piece of object that has just been sitting there because you forgot it and it's just there and you don't not really gonna take time to clean or look through shit until you have to move or you have a drastic revelation in your life and you feel overwhelmed by the amount of shit that you have, so you start cleaning. But I think most people are really not gonna have that impactful moment of, oh fuck man, I have too much shit, my house is becoming cluttered.
life have to continue on this downward spiral? Or could I choose to actually create a life that I loved? After all,
Also, the problem is that a lot of the times, like me personally, I will like clean and declutter shit, but then it just becomes cluttered again. At least like to my perspective, it becomes cluttered again. So it's like not enough to declutter, but to also keep it uncluttered, to not get new things just to get new things, but get new things to replace useful things that you know you use all the time or that has value to you. So if you use like for me, I love coffee in the morning, so I used I had this like handmade coffee pot that I would like use every time. My mom got it for me, and instead of I had like a hand stirring coffee one that like I poured hot water in, so it was like two objects. My mom's like, okay, you like your own hand coffee, so she got me like a little um like French press thingy bob where like the water steams out and it makes coffee through the steam. So it like got rid of the hand coffee and the hot water maker, so it was just that. But then I used that for like so long, I started to be like pretty raggedy. And then my mom got me a Keurig, which was like simplified everything. So kind of in that aspect of like what do you find useful and then replace that as if you use it too much and then it gets old and used up
for 40 years,
instead of just buying new shit just to buy
as
new
an
shit.
interior designer, I've been designing other people's lives all over the country.
I need new pots and
Why
pans.
not design my own? In December 2015, at a Christmas party in my home, a gentleman asked, Rita, how much longer are you going to live in this big house by yourself? I said, oh, in 1 year from now, I'm going to be living in a small apartment in Center City, Philadelphia. I have no idea where those words came from.
Yeah, why the fuck she want
But
to
in
move
that
to Philadelphia?
moment, I
You ever seen
realized
Sunny?
that my words created the future that I would live into. January 2016, I sat on the living room floor of my big home. I looked up and I cried. I had no idea where to begin. So rather than making downsizing a project, which is always harder, I decided to make it a game. So I called family and friends, many of them are here right now, and enrolled them in the possibility of helping me attack just one area of my home at a time for just 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. So week by week, for an entire year, they helped me disperse stuff that I'd collected over many, many years.
I didn't need half that
Downsizing
shit.
is not without emotions. At one point, I found my father's alarm clock, and I could hear him winding it to get up early to provide for our family.
It's like a family home. How would we keep that?
As my relationship to stuff changed,
Yeah, it's your kids
the
or something.
process got easier and easier. And what I realized was things didn't make me happy. A year
Excuse me.
later, here I am, Center City, Philadelphia, my beautiful little jewel box apartment. I moved from my 5,000 square foot home in the country to 867 square feet in Center City. I
That
gave
seems
away
nice though, right?
95%
Probably a hella
of my
view.
possessions to people who needed them or wanted them.
Goodwill, man.
And I'm living on 5% of what I once owned. I have all I want and all I need, and I've never been happier. I'm living that simple, joy-filled life that I experienced in Senegal. I'm living in alignment with what matters most to me. More time with family and friends. More resources, more freedom to travel, to learn, to actually live the life that I designed for myself.
I don't think stuff is gonna like necessarily stop you from doing all that things unless you're like continuously spending all your money to like buy more things. And at that point you don't really have a problem with like hoarding or being a minimalist. You kind of have a problem with buying shit. But like someone in a big house with a lot of items, they necessarily could still have the time to like spend time with their family, go to work, uh travel, do all the shit that she's talking about. But if you personally don't like the feeling of being cluttered, that's when you should downsize. If you're having problems doing all the other stuff she's talking about, I don't think you should blame the clutter at your house for that. You know, like that doesn't really make any sense.
A ripple effect of downsizing is that I also downsized my company's work week for a better work-life balance. We now work 3 days
Fired everyone.
and we play 4.
Now no one works. They're all fired.
And, why didn't I do that sooner? And we actually grew the company by 27% last quarter. So why might you choose to live with less so you can live more? My challenge to you is to, with your mind and with your heart,
Use that heart.
think of possibility and ask yourself these simple questions. Is there an area of your life that is totally out of control? Are you willing to disrupt that part of your life that's preventing you from living more? And what's one thing that you will do today to begin living the life that you love? Thank you.
I don't know what the fuck she's talking about, but let's read this question. Is there an area of your life that is out of control? Or are you willing to disrupt the cycle that is preventing you from living more? So those are two pretty good questions. Um, I see how they could relate to downsizing and living like a more minimalistic lifestyle with like less items. But this sounds more of like pursuing your dream, you know? Is there an area of your life that is out of control? Like what the doesn't some outside force kind of have to tell you it's out of your control? Cuz most people would assume if they're doing something it's within their control, right? If you're just one person living in your house and you're not getting a raise or not being able to travel because you have a lot of shit in your house, like how would you know that those are the causes of you not being able to do things? Maybe maybe she's trying to tell us that by decluttering and getting rid of our worldly possessions, we can kind of see um where our free time lies. So like if you have a lot of items in your house, you can kind of put small pieces of your free time in those things. And if you have less items at your house, then you can kind of see where your mind wants to take you, whether that's like, oh, I want to draw more, I want to read more, I want to go out more, I want to do this more, instead of like occupying yourself with superfluous items that you don't necessarily get enjoyment, fulfillment, or uh, anything from that item. But that could be, some would say, an astronomical reach. But are you willing to disrupt the cycle that is preventing you from living more? Yeah, that's more of like a time management, work life situation where you're like working too much. Like she was saying, she downsized her workforce, but you don't have like a fucking say in your company's work time. You're gonna work the hours they tell you to work, or you're gonna get fired, or someone else is gonna take your spot. Unless you own a company at that point, then you just hire someone to oversee everyone else while you fucking, jerk off at home. But disrupt the cycle that is preventing you from living more. That's these are tough questions. I don't have the answers because I don't work, so I'm kind of living, how I'm living, vibing, and area that is out of control. Ain't trying to control nothing, so can't be out of my control either. Kind of just big vibing. So that was a pretty okay video. Pretty okay. I'll see you guys later.